Hey everybody, Random Person here, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different for you. So, over the years, I have featured quite a few model aircraft on my channel, which is really the basis of my channel. And so I figured, instead of just posting them and flying them, I'm going to explain each one. This is my entire fleet right here. I'm going to go through each one from start to finish. They are ordered from oldest to newest. So without further ado, let's get started. We're going to start here. This is one of the first, more advanced builds that I ever did, and I built this plane all the way back in summer 2018. I flew it maybe twice and then just put it on our display shelf to sit. It flew good, I just didn't really fly it much. It's powered by a small LiPo, and I have an on-off switch wired up, and it has an all-automatic low voltage cutoff, so it never kills it, and it just flies. Have not made a video on it, just know that. Up next we have this little biplane that I built. It's not modeled after anything in particular. I just started cutting and made it, and I used a Sharpie marker to color it, and it has seen quite a bit of use. It's landed in trees several times. Been banged up a little bit from storage, but it still flies. It doesn't have a motor at the moment. I took it for something else, but that one has been on the channel. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you will recognize that one. Next we have this twin motor plane that I've had for over a year, and I didn't have any particular aim when I built it. I just wanted another plane to fly, and powered by two little motors, two little 6mm coreless motors, twin motor setup, has the same setup as the first plane does, on-off switch, and it just runs until it gets too low a power to fly. But that one flies particularly good. I've almost lost it on several occasions. And yeah, it makes a great addition to my fleet. And this right here, this I didn't really build. I put a capacitor on it and a motor on it, and it flew pretty well. One of the first videos I made when I got back to uploading. But I figured I'd include it since it was in a video. Right here is one of my first build videos. This is the first build video I've ever made on an airplane. This one right here. And it flies incredibly well. Has the little capacitor and the same 6mm coilless motor. Have a little bit of solder flux wrapped around it to be used as nose weight. This one will fly several football fields. I've nearly lost it on quite a few occasions. And up next we have sort of a warbird styled plane. I just sort of cut it out, no plans. And this one's very lightweight. It's made of very thin yet strong balsa wood. It's missing its motor as well because I wanted a smaller, more efficient, and less powerful motor, since it was killing the capacitor really quickly. But this is one of the first ones I ever really sat down and sanded to make it look better, and I was impressed with how it came out. It flies incredible too. Up next is quite possibly one of the best planes that I've ever built. I absolutely love this thing. It's my little Cessna 152, and this is the first sort of hollow, three-dimensional style fuselage airplane that I've ever built. Didn't know what I was doing when I started, but I just started cutting, making the shapes. I used a plan for this airplane, and inside it's got the capacitor and an on-off switch, which actually doesn't work. It's just wired directly. Little 6mm coreless motor, capacitor, and this one will fly just as far as that one. Several football fields, I've nearly lost it. Make sure that one's trimmed out right. Love that plane. And then walking around here, this right here was featured in a video, but it didn't look like this. This is after I airbrushed it. I used some pinstriping, mask it off. That's the bare foam color. And then the red is the airbrush paint. This one was featured in a video before it was painted, and it ran off of a LiPo. It flew pretty good until the LiPo didn't really work anymore. So I disassembled it and installed one of those little 5 farad capacitors and a different motor, and it flies great. Just decided to make it look good by painting it, but it flies good. And then next up we have the Spitfire, which I did a build video on. This one, when I first built it, had a bad capacitor in it. It was faulty from factory, just failed, stopped taking a charge right, and it bummed me out, but I eventually took it apart carefully, put a new capacitor in, and it flies great now. I have to make an update video on that. Great little plane though. Now next, you have not seen this one in a video, or it flew actually. Radio controlled, just like the Piper Cub. This one has a little gear reduction unit, which I'll get back to on that. Little miniature actuator in the back for steering. And I did the same thing I did with that plane over there. I airbrushed it, which is surprisingly fun. Used automotive pinstriping to make the pinstripe along the side of the plane. Masked off the propeller so I could get the red propeller tips. And this plane flies like a dream. It's super stable and smooth, and with the little Mabuki flat case motor, gear reduction unit, it makes plenty of power. Up next, this plane might look familiar because it's identical to the one over there. I like the way that one flew so much, I replicated the design and just gave it a different color. Runs off the same capacitor and motor, literally just a different color. Nice to have two different ones, I guess. And moving on to the Piper Cub, this is a sad story actually. So wind gust hit it pretty hard, crashed it, annihilated this part of the fuselage, so I started to repair it. I made a new section that I was going to blend in and paint it, but it was a lot more work than it was really worth, and I decided to just scrap it, start fresh. I kept it just because I really enjoyed the way this plane flew, and one day maybe I'll build it. But next we have this little plane, which has not been in a video. I built it just out of boredom, and it's straightforward little capacitor, 6mm cordless motor, and it flies just fine, and pretty easy to lose too if you ever charge it. And up next, I didn't build this. This is an Air Hogs plane, which is actually the source of inspiration for everything you see right here. I always played with these as a kid. They were a ton of fun. They got stuck in trees and everything, and they are exactly the same as all of these capacitor planes. Runs off of a supercapacitor, little motor, charge it up, and it flies on its own. Doesn't fly as good as mine though. And then over here, these are the chargers that I use for these little free flight planes. They're little 4 AA packs. They send out 6 volts, and they have a little button. These chargers came with those Air Hogs planes, and they make great chargers for my other models. But what you do, I just set it down on the charger. This is going to be tricky to do one-handed, but you stick the charger in, press the button, and it runs the motor down. And that's how it flies. But enough of that, I'll show you exactly how it works. So right here we have our supercapacitor. This is a 2.7 volt 5 farad capacitor. This came in one of those Air Hogs planes. It's just a lot easier to display this as it's all one unit. Right there is an old Mabuki flat case motor, which way more power than you need for a free flight, but these came in these heavy little foam planes that didn't fly super good. But again, same thing. You slide the unit down on the charger like that, it makes a connection. You hit a button, and it charges it. And it'll just slowly run down. And this is not enough power to fly a plane, but if it was, it'd be flying through the air. And it'll just kind of land itself. That's going to be going. These are the direct drive motors that I use for a lot of my planes. Instead of the gear reduction, which isn't as common, I use these little cordless motors, which I can get on eBay. This is a very poor example of one, I apologize, but they're a lot simpler, they're quieter, and they're more efficient. And then I use propellers typically like this. These are 1 millimeter propeller shaft diameter. I'm not sure on the size of these propellers, like the blades. And then for my larger prop shafts, I'm not sure the size of this. I think it's 1.5 millimeters. I run these, and I'm running one on the little red and white plane over there. And then as for the controller for the red and white plane and this Piper Cub, I'm using this homemade controller. I took the receiver for the controller board out of the pistol grip controller, which is for an RC car, and I just made this sort of half-baked idea of a case, which it looks sketchy, but it does work. It's more familiar feeling than a pistol grip controller. I have my throttle, I have my left and right. It's a Spektrum product. And then as for what I use to actually put these airframes together, I'm using Bob Smith Industries Glue Accelerator, which basically speeds up the curing process of CA glue. I use extreme power, medium viscosity, meaning it's not running like water, but it's not super thick, CA glue. It's great stuff. It's strong, it's firm, and I can sand it down and make it look nice and smooth. And in the event that I ever get glue on my fingers or I have to take a model apart carefully, I use Bob Smith Industries Uncure, which dissolves CA glue. Dissolves it, and I can take stuff apart. But that is it. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all enjoyed seeing the fleet. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it if you did. And do me a favor, comment down below what your favorite model was. I'd really like to hear it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.